Yes, hello everyone. Last session before the lunch, so hold on people. I hope you're still hungry, not only for food, but for some knowledge. And let's set our today's question. How do we build progressive Angular applications fast, reliable, and re-engaging, and do it in native in terms of Angular platform way? There is really great option available. My name is Maxim Salnikov. I'm a full-stack developer in ForgeRock. And here is my Twitter. It could be very useful for you because I'll share my slides right after the session, and there will be code snippets and some useful links. So please follow me. And I'm one of the organizers of ng-Vikings conference. So if you, thank you. If you wish to continue to visit great Angular events like this, I bet you do. This could be a really great option for you. So March 2018, Helsinki, Finland. It's 100% community-driven event. 2 days, 2 tracks, technical speakers, only useful sessions, tickets on sale, and this is our Twitter. By the way, 2 more days, even call for papers is open, so take your chance. And we still have opened some sponsorship opportunities. So if your company wish to be visible for Sweet Nordics market, you are welcome. Just find me or contact me. Cool. Before going to Angular, let's recall concept of PWA in just a couple of slides. So according to the current definition in Wikipedia, progressive web apps are just apps that use latest browser APIs to take benefits from 2 quite different universes, mobile native and web. On the same page, there are these 10 classical characteristics of PWA. Today we are interested in the ones powered by service worker, which are connectivity independence and all possible networking optimizations and re-engagement. So about service worker, just a couple of words. Your application, outer world, and our service worker is working somewhere in between, intercepting all HTTP requests from the application and might be serving its own requests for them. Both app and service worker, they live and work in our browser or our customers, our client's browser, but live totally different lives though. So physically, this is just a JavaScript file. Great. So how it's all related to Angular? And Angular and Angular CLI really love PWA. Starting from Angular 5 and even earlier via some beta versions, and starting from Angular CLI 1.6, we can now create automatic progressive web apps supported by Angular Service Worker. It's kind of strike through, but no. Before we start, let me wait a sec. Let me promote one more link. So this is Slack team I organized this summer. Now we are more than 1,000 developers, including all the representatives from browsers, frameworks, libraries, and we discuss progressive web apps, service workers, and all stuff around. So please welcome to join it if you have any questions about this, if you wish to share your own experience. This is a link definitely for you. Now, finally, let's have a look on how could we create service worker-driven Angular app. Very simple. Just use service worker flag when you generate a new app. And also shortcut just SW is also available. But it all starts from Angular CLI 1.6, which stable version was released when? 2 days ago. So after this, you just run ng build important in production mode. So it all makes sense only in this mode. And then you'll find 2 extra files in your dist folder. NGSW worker.js, this is Angular Service Worker itself. So this is a kind of part of say the library, and NGSW JSON, which is a manifest file for this service worker, or just settings file for this service worker. What's next? Use any static web server now to serve your dist folder. Important hint, do not use ng-serve. It will not work for service worker, even in prod mode. So ng-serve is not about Angular service worker. This is why I emphasize that we have to use any static web server or like just deploy it anywhere. You will see that now in application tab of DevTools in service worker subtab, we'll see that NGSW worker is registered against our origin, which is good, and we have some entries in cache storage, which is also good. But why it's all happened? What we got by using Angular service worker? We'll see this after we switch to offline. Go to network tab, click offline checkbox, hit refresh. And voila, your application is still ready. Your customers are happy, even using your web app somewhere on the plane or without internet coverage. So this is what we have right out of the box, right after generating the application and running production build. Of course, far not every time we have this privilege to start a new shiny Angular app from the scratch, right? I believe main use case, at least for now, will be add this functionality to your existing Angular 5 application. So, and let's have a look on how could we achieve this, and this way we will understand what this service worker flag did for us. So first, we have to install this service worker package. It's super simple. Then we enable build support with specifying one simple option for Angular CLI settings file. Then we register our Angular service worker in app module and create a configuration file after all. Cool. So point number one, super simple. Point number two, we'll have next slide about this. So what exactly this service build support, how does it work exactly? Quite simple. It takes a configuration file, which is in src and NGSW config. This is just default name, and build this manifest file for service workers. So actually, this is settings file in human readable form converted to settings file for Angular service worker, which is also JSON, and actually they are quite close to each other. So just some more hashes added in this NGSW JSON. Second, it just takes NGSW worker, service worker itself, from some folder in node modules and copy it to this. So two simple actions. It means that we can even emulate this in Angular CLI 1.5 if you didn't upgrade to 1.6 yet, which is quite real life case. Next, registering NGSW. Also quite simple. We import corresponding module in our app module. Also, to be a bit smarter, we might want to import environment because it works only in production, right? And then using standard Angular ways, we just import this module with corresponding section. So it all be available only for production. Cool. So this configuration file, luckily, again, a couple of days ago, full documentation appeared. So I will be really quick on explaining the main features of this, just to save some time for more practical hints for you. So, in super short, three main options there in this, say, human readable, human editable, developer friendly NGSW config. Index, this is basically where we redirect all navigation requests. So in 99% of the cases, this is /index HTML. Asset groups, named groups of resources which are parts of our application version. So basically, mainly we use this for application shell. And data groups, something to specify settings for runtime caching, where we can go for runtime caching strategies. So how do we create this app shell inside these asset groups? We first have a name, so it's up to us how to name this. This is default settings from newly generated Angular service worker. Install mode, prefetch versus lazy. So I believe it's quite self-explainable to get all the resources right on service worker start, or to get them only by explicit user request. For app shell, of course, it makes sense to go for prefetch, at least for critical resources, and resources themselves. We have three main options to specify these resources. First, we could go for option called files, and then Angular CLI will calculate hashes for these resources. Or if we have hash as part of the name of the file, no need to go for this calculation, we can save on it. Version files is setting for this. So this is default view of NGSW config JSON. And in both cases, we are free to use globs as a pattern, which is quite useful. And for on-demand, set groups of app shell resources, which could be, for example, non-critical resources like some images. We could go for lazy, and we could specify resources as files again. So I use glob here. And the third option, we can even go for some specific URLs or patterns of URLs to make sure that resources from these addresses will become part of our application shell. Of course, we have to really think twice before going for external resources as a part of our app shell, but still it's quite useful. For example, in case of some web fonts or some icons. Awesome. So our application shell is fast, robust, and quite flexible in settings. And the same I can say about runtime caching settings. So we have these data groups, you remember, right? Name, again, up to us, and URLs, specifying absolutely the same way, globs. But since this is something that is not part of our application version, this is something that will be downloaded and cached only on demand, we might want to specify, we have to specify caching strategy for this. And there are two main ones, freshness or performance. For APIs like something breaking news, obviously we might go for freshness, right? And it just means that this will be a network-first strategy. So service worker will always send a request to server first. If it's available, it will download this JSON or XML or whatever and display it to the user. If server is not available or no connection, service worker will try to go to cache to get a resource from there. Second strategy is performance, and it's much more like conservative strategy, right? And for example, for API slash archive slash something, it might be the case when we don't even want to go to a server each time to check if there is something new. Awesome. It was about caching for application shell and for runtime. And it's documented at the moment on angular.io, so you will find some more details about this. What's not documented yet is push notifications. And this is my favorite topic. It's a quite complex idea, quite complex concept, but thanks to super simple approach by Angular Service Worker, it could be described just in a couple of slides. So first, push notifications is about two flows. Subscribing to these notifications and sending these notifications. These two flows are like separated in time. So to subscribe, we could use all, say, native navigator object methods, or we can go for Angular way and import SW push class from service worker, injected. And then we have a request subscription method. We have only pass waypit public key. So super simple. Then user will get this dialog if you wish to subscribe push notification from this website. Sending notifications is even simpler. You literally have to do nothing in your Angular application. You just have to follow quite simple convention on your backend side. So backend side is actually the side that sends push notifications. So wrap everything in notification field. This is part of convention, and then use all standard properties from notification spec. So if you send your push notification from your backend side, from your Node.js or PHP or whatever in this format, Angular Service Worker will catch it and display it. And this will look something like this. So first we subscribe. And soon it will appear. Yes, so we started to receive push notifications. Cool. Next interesting topic is update of our application. And it could be quite tricky. So just imagine, we have version 1 of our app on server, and after we get it loaded in our browser, obviously this will be version 1 as well. Next, we fixed some bugs, added new ones, and we have version 1 deployed to version 2 deployed to our server. What will we experience and our customer experience on the first load? Unfortunately, still version 1. This is well-known trade-off of PWA application shell concept in general. Why? Because we try to get the data from cache as soon as possible, not even going to the network. But on the same time, Angular Service Worker will go to the network, and if there is a newer version available, it will download it and cache it, and we be ready to serve it. So on next refresh, you will get version 2 in your browser. Not so good experience, right? So could we optimize it on this step? Yes. Angular Service Worker exposes observable for us with corresponding functionality. So we import SW update class, injected as always, and now we have available observable ready for us. So if we subscribe to it, we will get this moment. What we can do, we can show the message to our customer, like, hey, there is a newer version available, would you like to refresh? And then it will go this way. Hit refresh. Yes, next version. I bet you've seen this behavior on many websites. And if you see something like this, it means it's powered by Service Worker. And yes, it means that you got this version immediately from cache without going to the network. And here I start my technical hints. And the first one exactly about this update flow. Last couple of weeks I received many messages on Twitter about, hey Maxim, this update flow doesn't work. We always see old version of our app. And it might happen because you know, we developers follow different patterns rather than our users while checking the app. We hit reload like crazy and like no wait for a second, and this is where the technical details start to work against us. From the documentation, Service Worker checks it for updates when Service Worker starts, and it means it cold start. It's quite challenging and technically interesting moment when Service Worker starts and ends, but in general I can say that when DevTools open, Service Worker will never stop working. So we developers keep this DevTools open, and we like forced to use only the old version because just Angular will not go to check for this. Also, Service Worker stops working after some timeout, so it doesn't work forever, but some seconds it will still be alive. And if we hit reload trying to get our new version, we just respawn it. So it against actually absolutely opposite from what we want to achieve. Next, you might want to unload browser from memory and not closed by unload in, for example, on Mac systems. I bet you know what I mean. And third, we might want to go for some code snippets. So these 2 lines will fix this behavior. Anyway, it all looks really non-developer friendly, right? And using code snippets is hacky. So we are not happy, right? And luckily, this behavior will be changed. And so today's night, I had discussion with Alex, who is developer of this, and we agreed on we have to update this on every navigation flow. So quite soon, we will not need all these hacks. Hint number 2, you might want to check the status, what's going on in your Angular service worker, and just use this ng-sw/state. So this API is, this URL is always available after you have your service worker up and running. Hint number 3, kill switch. Sometimes sync might go wrong, and especially when it's like not so mature technology yet, right? So you might want to get rid of service worker functionality completely. Long way is to unsupport it's on build mode, so set this flag to false and deploy. But you might want to ask me, hey, okay, Maxim, but in most cases this will not work, not in Angular world, but in other world, when we just update an application, and the broken service worker will still be there because, wow, it's registered by browser, and it's there despite we deleted it from our deployment server. And furthermore, it in most cases, it has older version of our app somewhere in cache, so we cannot even unregister service worker. So this is pure chicken and egg problem. Why will this work in this case? Because of special fail-safe mechanism built in Angular. So, and instead of doing this, we could just go and do this. So if we just remove NGSW JSON, this manifest or settings file for service worker based on this fact will unregister itself and destroys, and we will be safe. So this might this might save some of your nerves and working time. So we went through main available at the moment features. Wow, it's splitted ideally, right? Application shell, runtime caching, push notifications, and these smart updates. And now we can list some advantages. So we have all the essential features config-driven with 0 lines of code. Decoupled update, service worker updates and app updates are totally different processes and flows, which is really good. I'm sorry, integrity checks means that Angular service worker checks all these hashes before actually serving this, so we always sure that our users get exactly what we want them get. And of course, we do everything in Angular way. Modules, classes, dependency injection, methods, observables, just super duper. On the roadmap, integration with server-side rendering, it's almost there. So if you read Stephen Fluent blog post, you can go for ng generate app shell, and this will generate app shell for you with some workarounds. But it doesn't play well with Angular Service Worker, unfortunately. So it crashes both Service Worker and your app. So again, this night I filed 2 issues to CLI repo. So hopefully it will be fixed soon. Better debugging, we will be able to send errors straight to our server side. This one will be really great, so no need to even use this service worker flight. I believe after we'll get this technology mature, we'll go for this. Like, for example, in create React app, we generate PWA by default. And documentation, luckily, this is almost fixed. 2 days ago, some of documentations landed on angular.io. If you need to go for more details, my Medium is for you. I have a couple of quite extensive articles there, and about to write next blog post about all technical under the hood details, especially about update flow. Thank you very much. Yeah, in case of questions, just catch me, I'll be around.